Teacher Polo Kwaye. You want rabbit car, you want let good love, you want eat good food. You want go to school, you want be let deuce, you want eat big you. You want care your play for people to say, my brother, hello. You want dress to impress for men and to say that you get too far. Look for the money, 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 money. Look for the money. Not too much APC. There go. I snack the bread, that money, belly on my head. When you get it, my by your 2-7 lift. No more better pick up it, that one in your head. You go in one car. I say that money, make you man. Everybody want for money, man, to be the best friend. But for the nangu, we can make you know that food. They can make other people, they can hate them more on you. They can make you proud of you. You know all that money can make a dance. People only believe in it. Power and come on. Get it. No matter who you are, you gotta look for the markers. You want rabbit car, you want let good love, you want eat good food. Look for money. You want go to school, you want be let deuce, you want eat big you. Look for money. You want care your play for people to say, my brother, hello. Look for money. You want dress to impress for men and to say that you the too far. Look for the money, 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 money. Oh, Baba. I've had the money to do and the money to buy, the money to find and the money to watch, the money to sweet and the money to sour. Oh Lord, can I live without the money? I should feel the church on Sunday with P&D. Be able to pay my tithes and my offering. Without the money, I'm skinning and by the winking. Doesn't love me, into my family. If I had the money, I would bring the whole world. If I had the power to make money, I would give to the poor, give to the blind, position to my for the less fortunate. Give to the poor, give to the blind, position to my for the less fortunate. You want rabbit car, you want let good love, you want eat good food. Look for money. You want go to school, you want be let deuce, you want eat big you. Look for money. You want care your play for people to say, my brother, hello. Look for money. You want dress to impress for men and to say that you get too far. Look for money. Activate. Sunday good, Sunday bad. When you get some more, I show your friend and clear. For picking and the body, bro. What brother you hold now, never more. Me, I don't know why the war is not fair. No more clever student, everybody pay him back. He just got the why before he make you pass him back. No justice for the poor, money man and causing problem, they will get an envelope. You will lead in the hole. Just because you poor, they will step on your toe. Me, I know you want to roll. With that fine girl, but you jacking on yourself. You could say you better, my man.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Business and Economic Forum. This is Saturday, January 25, 2020.
Look for money. You want go to school, you want be let deuce, you want eat big you. Look for money. You want care your play for people to say, my brother, hello. Look for money. You want dress to impress for men and to say that you get.
In today's edition, Mr. George P. Lobbo responds to economist Samuel P. Jackson on Mr. Jackson's interview on Focus on Liberia, and we'll also be discussing what we term as broad daylight robbery at LBDI, that's the Liberian Bank of Development and Investment. I want to say welcome to all of you. This is the Business and Economic Forum, and my name is Dennis Jar. We are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. I want to welcome the editor of the Business and Economic Forum, Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones. Mr. Jones, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much, Dennis. But actually, it's Chuchu Alex Jones. So
who cares?
My man.
Thank you very much.
It's the same Jones.
There's
and Chuchu Jones, Chuchu it is.
We also want to welcome Mr. William King. He likes his full name, William Thomas Bernard King, from the generation of President Charles D.B. King. Mr. King, welcome to Focus on Liberia. While Mr. King is getting ready there, we want to...
Yeah, but I click on his link.
You said I'm not ready, I'm ready.
All right.
Nice. Thank you for having me, Dennis. Today was going to be a very exciting time. Rumble in the jungle.
And when you say
Rumble in the jungle.
jungle, that means the rising political activists who are so much interested in business and economics, Mr. George P. Lobbo. George, I don't know any Gisi name that start with P.
In all fairness, my P stand for Preston.
Oh,
Preston is my middle name. My kissing name is Sa.
You said that name is Preston? Preston?
Yeah, that's my full name, George Preston Lobbo Jr. But my kissing name is Sa. I want to say thank you, Dennis, and thanks for having me. Thanks to the panelists. It's a pleasure to be here once again. Such a great platform to talk about issues that affect the country. So I'm glad here. I'm looking forward to a fruitful discussion this afternoon. Thank you, Dennis.
thank you. I didn't even start introducing all my people. I got a comment here that I want to read from Manjanga Son de Piero. He said, "How are you doing, Alex? It is because of you that I'm watching this live video.
Thank you very much.
Please remain very objective and to the point. Don't be like those politicians that have failed us over the years." Oh,
I will do the best. So help me God.
To the podium, veteran economist, activist, author, and politician, Mr. Sam P. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, welcome to Focus on Liberia.
Thank you very much. It's a great afternoon here in Atlanta, and thank you for inviting me. I look for a spirited and courteous debate.
Thank you. And the reason we're doing this is Mr. Jackson had an interview here where he said a number of things. Mr. George Preston Lobbo reached out to us that he vehemently disagreed and said, well, there is no swimming argument at the water side. So let's do it right here on Focus on Liberia. So we're very thankful for Mr. Jackson, who graciously accepted to answer those questions. And that's why we are here. And there's a front page article on what happened at LBDI, and we're going to discuss that more. So without much ado, I'm going to switch this to Mr. William Thomas Bernard King, who's going to be hosting the show today. Mr. King?
Yes, thank you. Thank you very much, Dennis. Very happy to be here. We're having a little bit of, I'm not even going to say technical difficulties. There's another guy, Morris T. Men, who will be joining the show today. So I'm trying to get him squared away. So that's going to be happening shortly. So I want to thank all of our viewers, Facebook. I want to thank all of our panelists and our host. Today is going to be a very, very interesting conversation. I mean, it's going to be back and forth. A lot of great things happening in Liberia, but apparently some of us, we don't see it that way, or maybe we see it that way with a little twist. So we're going to get into it. As you know, always, the Business Economic Forum focus on Liberia. This is not we're not a financial advisor. This is our disclaimer. Please, none of the comments, conversations, or anything that we say here should be taken as encouragement for you to do any kind of investment. We urge everyone that's listening, if you are to do any investment, we want you to please consult a professional licensed financial advisor and not take what we say on this show. So without further ado, giving it back to you, Dennis.
Thank you so much. Mr. Alice Chuchu Jones, get the ball rolling.
Well, again, like I said, the Business and Economic Forum is designed to bring about a conversation of how Liberia can, improve its own infrastructure and business and banks and we always look to American companies, European companies whenever we talk business in Liberia. So this was a very, very creative idea by Focus on Africa and myself to partner, and many in Liberia, including Dr. George Lobbo, and to come up with this forum that would just discuss and address business issues. So again, we're not here for political issues. We're here to discuss, balance sheet, profit, loss, good investment, bad investment, and so forth. So again, today's topic, we always want to bring Liberian economists and Liberian best and brightest to get their views on how we can improve our people's lives. And Mr. Jackson had an exclusive interview on Wednesday to talk about his book. and I'm sure he'll be highlighted during the course of the show. And it was a very good interview. And he talked about some of the issues that went on at the Central Bank of Liberia and within government, and what the ministry is doing to improve the Liberian people's lives. So following the interview, we got a call from Mr. Lobbo, and he said, listen, most of the assertion that Mr. Jackson is making are erroneous, they're incorrect, and I would like to have the opportunity to come on to refute it. And I focus on Liberia with always an open platform. Again, anyone have the opportunity to come and discuss any business or economic issues. So we asked Mr. Lobbo to send over some documentations to prove what he was saying that Mr. Jackson wasn't. And he did. He sent some newspaper articles, asserting that some of the individuals that were arrested at the central bank should be exonerated, but there's no case built up against them. I think Mr. Jackson asserted that there was massive corruption by the previous administration, the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf administration. So they both are here today. It's Saturday, beautiful Saturday afternoon, at least from my vantage point in beautiful and sunny Clearwater, Tampa Bay. So to discuss the issue. Again, this is an intellectual forum. It's not a personal forum to go after someone because you don't like them or what party. We're here for the facts, the economic facts. Also, we're also going to be discussing the Loetta deal. LBDI in Liberia is a bank that was set up by the International Finance Company. And they're there to develop Liberia. It's a Liberian-owned bank in partnership with the World Bank and other entities. There was a very big deal that they signed, or very big collaboration, the Loetta partnership with LBDI to take over the investment banking division of LBDI. And that didn't sit very well with me because I had written about this issue in 2013. In fact, I had cautioned the president of LBDI that the bank was being mismanaged. The bank was, it could not even produce a financial statement. If you go on the site today, last time I checked, they still don't even have a financial statement. Now, in Liberia, we have to be serious and honest with ourselves, all right? We cannot criticize the government and criticize the politician when the banking and financial people are no better. They don't give full disclosure. They go out there, they run the institution like they're running their power farms. This is a public institution.
Alex,
so they must be held accountable.
Alex, you are not the host. You are not the host here.
No, I'm just
landing, but you are landing 5 aircraft. We cannot have that.
No,
and
I'm just laying the premise, Mr. Host. I'm just laying.
Okay.
Dennis asked me to lay the premise while we're here today.
Yeah, but now you go into some of your own personal opinions now.
No, I'm not going to my personal opinion. Like I said, it's a Liberian bank, and whenever they do something, we as financial people, as the Business and Economic Forum, the only group in Liberia that's supposed to keep a watchful eye over how our country is being managed or mismanaged. We saw this article, and me personally raised a concern about it. And I contacted the host and the management team and said, I think this has to be discussed. In my view, this isn't right. It will not benefit the Liberian people. So that's why we're here today. And having said that, I'll turn it over to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And let's start with with Mr. Lobbo to present his side, because he listened to Mr. Jackson and said a lot of things that Mr. Jackson said were erroneous. So the old man is here to listen. So let me start with you, Mr. Lobbo, to make your case.
Let me first and foremost begin by saying thanks to my fellow Liberians who've tuned in today. Once again, my name is George Preston Lobbo Jr. I'm glad to be here wherever you're tuning in from. On Wednesday, while I was at work, sitting in the office, I had the privilege to follow Focus on Liberia. I listened to the interview with that a very good father, senior brother, renowned Liberian Samuel Jackson. As I listened to Mr. Jackson's interview on Focus on Liberia, there were a lot of statements that were made. Let me first and foremost take this time to just separate two things here. I want to say categorically that I commend Mr. Jackson for his initiative for taking his time and exerting all his energy and resources in writing a book. That is something that is commendable, and I ask all Liberians to support such an initiative. Whether we agree or disagree with what has been said in the book, at least a Liberian wrote a book that we all must support him. And I want him to know that I have nothing but admiration and support for him for that. And as a result of that, I've made it clear that before next weekend, Mr. Jackson, I will post a copy of that book on my own page, purchased from you. Having said that, Mr. Jackson made a series of comments on during the interview. One which have been his normal talking point, which I tend to disagree. Mr. Jackson said that he did not support the printing of the money at one point in time, and then he said he supported the printing of money, but not the quantity in which the guys were wanting to print. And which, of course, I disagree. That in itself is a contradiction and continual flip-flop between Mr. Jackson's own statements. Knowing very well Mr. Jackson was a strong proponent and a defendant of the printing of the 35 billion from its initial stage. If Mr. Jackson can recall his interview right after the economic dialogue, he defended the printing of 35 billion. And this is why I came out here today. Another thing Mr. Jackson has been running around telling the Liberian people, which of course I disagree. Mr. Jackson continued to say the Unity Party government infused 18 billion in the economy. That statement is false, is misleading, is undermining, and had no iota of truth. And in these type of critical time in our country history, when money is missing and we're trying to establish the facts about the money, I think what we want to see is people with the knowledge, with the experience, with the expertise, to be able to guide the process, not to continue to mislead us. So I come here today to ask Mr. Jackson to retract his statement. Another statement that was made by Mr. Jackson, he said, as a result of the arrest of Governor Milton Weeks and that of Charles Sully, it was because of their criminal involvement with the printing of additional money. That is a statement which I continue to challenge Mr. Jackson on. That statement is false, misleading, and has no facts. The facts continue to exist. Green Financial that printed the money made it clear that the excess 1.944 billion that was printed not at the request of the Liberian government or the central bank authority. They said they undertook the initiative to print it as a security blanket. Green also clarifies that she gave the Liberian government 3 options. Those options were stipulated in an article where Queen exonerated herself. As God would have it recently, the Liberian government have now dropped the case against Queen Financial. So what that tells us is that I was right, that Governor Milton Weeks and that of Charles Sully did nothing wrong. And I hope Mr. Jackson today in this public forum will retract that statement and apologize to the Liberian people and state the facts. And I want Mr. Jackson to tell the Liberian people today categorically clear how the money was infused, when the money was printed. Let us be able to separate the timeline so that our people will get the right information and not the misleading information. That is the basis for being here. Another thing I came here again today to discuss against Mr. Jackson. I have listened to Mr. Jackson over and over. You know, sometimes I don't want to be repetitive. Mr. Jackson have outlined the structural issues facing the economic community in Liberia. That which I tend to agree with Mr. Jackson. And I want Liberians to understand that Mr. Jackson's and I disagreement, they are not far apart. They are based on policies and implementation. That is our disagreement. Mr. Jackson and I do agree that there are structural financial issues in Liberia that needs to be addressed. That I agree. But I also want Mr. Jackson now to redirect his attention on the capitalism side of the economy that is focused more on wealth building and economic independence. What do I mean by the capitalism side of the economy? The capitalism side of the economy that is driven by productivity, one that has to do with ideas that leads to government investment heavily in the private sector. So I would love to hear some of those ideas. Now that we've identified the structural problems, that is the side of the economy that I will be focusing on today. And I'm looking forward to to this conversation here today.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's why we call it Rumble in the Jungle. You heard from Mr. George Preston Lomo. Sir, Issa. Thank you. Now we go to veteran economist Sam P. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, please adjust your camera so that you can respond to what Mr. Lobbo term has false and misleading statements. You heard him.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know which show Mr. Lobbo was watching, because I've watched that show at least 3 or 4 times, and none of the statements that he is attributing to me are made. I don't know whether served on his job at the water fountain, but you know, none of what he said. Because look, I'm a real economist, Mr. Lobbo. I speak as an empiricist. I don't speak on the side of my mouth, and I don't speak out of turn, and I don't speak without evidence. I was very clear in terms of where I stand. Let's just go to the facts. When I was in Liberia, I wrote a 43-page paper that I've sent to Dennis and I've sent to Alex. I never said in there to print $35 billion. And I never said to print bank notes. What I said was very clear, and maybe he doesn't understand, but I said to demonetize. And what demonetize means is to take the old bank notes, you know, that are in circulation, is to take them out of circulation and print bank notes for the following reasons. When you want to print money, the first thing you do, unlike what the Unity Party criminally, illogically, and unscientifically did, was not to look at anything in economics called the QTM, the quantity theory of money. Look at the economic growth rate and make a determination on having a close linear relationship between the growth of the money supply and the economic growth rate. His government, the CBL, printed. If you listen to Crow, it would be 16 billion, and in the PIT, it's 18.151 billion. So there is controversy. I mean, I cannot resolve that controversy. It's a controversy that originated from the unscientific and illogical and criminal printing of money. I said criminal printing of money because Mr. Weeks, Mr. Salif, and others at the central bank were charged for not getting the appropriate legal authorization from the national legislature to print $10 billion. And that is very clear. And it's all part of the record. Okay. And I understand that maybe he wants to come in, you know, I'm not a lawyer. So I want to basically go by the indictments that were served on Mr. Salif and the indictments that were served on Mr. Weeks and others with the central bank. Now, if he has other information that they have been cleared of these charges by a court of competent jurisdiction, I'm more than happy to then say, well, yes, this is what the court has said. But until that, I stand by my fact that people were criminally indicted for illegally printing banknotes without authorization from the central bank. Now, the other issue, I said very clearly, as an economist, that because of a number of anomalies within the monetary sector, for example, 95%, the last time I checked with the central bank annual report, were out of the currency in circulation were not within the banking system, but rather outside. So you have to make a determination as to why you have the quantum of 95% of your currency outside of the banking system. So you have to do a deep dive. And that deep dive we did in my monetary study aggregate, we found out that there were three major reasons. The number one is informality. Informality means that the workforce, people between the ages of 60 and 65, I think it's a couple of million, but 80.9% of those people in the informal sector, and more than 60% in the agricultural, in subsistence agriculture. Only 7% of adults in Liberia have bank accounts, whereas in Ghana is 50%. In Kenya, 93% of adults use mobile money. So that's another problem. There's no financial deepening. Financial deepening means people who have access to electronic banking, digital banking, meaning like Visa, MasterCard, mobile money. And also within the financial architecture, there's something called automatic clearinghouse, ACH, and also RTGS, which is real-time gross settlement. So because of the lack of financial inclusion and the quantity of that money, 95% of the system, so you don't just go ahead and print excess money, but what you do, you retrieve it, and then you combine the retrieval process with a robust effort to improve the financial inclusion. And I must applaud the central bank for recently announcing and implementing its new financial inclusion plan for the next 10 years. So it is clear to me that Mr. Lobbo heard what I was saying, didn't understand it. I never said print excess money. I never said print $35 billion. What I said was that in my analysis, I said it appeared to me based upon our econometric model that you have to have like 24 billion Liberian dollars in the money supply. Why? Because in 2016, you had a quantum of $10.83 billion Liberian dollars in M2. And then Mr. Lobbo's government illegally and unscientifically printed either 16 billion or 18 billion. So if this is currency in circulation, there's a big difference between currency in circulation and money. And I hope Mr. Lobbo knows the difference between currency in circulation and money. I'm talking about currency in circulation. So currency in circulation, okay, $10.83 billion in 2016. And they printed a quantum of either 16 or 18. If they printed 16, you're looking at right about 27 billion. If they printed 18.15 billion as in the Presidential Investigation Task Force report, then you're looking at somewhere like almost like 29 billion. So if you subtract the 4 billion that Mr. Lobbo CBL or people said that they burned, it would still give you between 26 and 24 billion. That is just pure arithmetic. Is no rocket science. Now, this new government, without my recommendation, based upon their own analysis, in August of 2019, they sent a request to the central bank asking to print 35 billion Liberian dollars. And one senator, and it's not Darius Dillon, one senator called me. He said, Mr. Jackson, I want you to take a look at this and see what this request makes any sense. I said, well, this is unscientific. $35 billion added to an already inflationary spiral, which is 33% last year. And then I knew from reading the document that they were not going to be retrieving money, but rather they were going to be increasing the money supply by that quantum, because they said they were going to accrue $130 million in seniorage income. And what is seniorage income? Seniorage income is income for printing money. In economics, we call it the inflation tax. The cost of money, which is typically pennies, which is because money has no intrinsic value. And there's fiat currency, so paper currency, when it's printed, and you infuse that money, okay? The difference between the cost of printing and the value of the money within the money supply, or the currency of the money supply, that will give you, they say, $130 million. So I knew a few months back, before I even came to the States, that this was not only illogical, was unscientific, and will further destroy the purchasing power of Liberians. So, Alex, you saw my monetary aggregate study. Mr. Lobbo hasn't seen it, so I'll be very happy now to send a copy of that so he can have access to that. And then, because he said, I'm switching from one position to another. I never said print additional money.
Mr.
I said
Jackson.
retreat old currency.
Mr. Jackson, but we're not getting 10 minutes.
Yes,
10 minutes.
Mr. Jackson.
We want to say this. Dennis, hold on 1 second. We want to make this very clear that Mr. Jackson is saying that he did not say print additional money. That's not what he said. What Mr. Jackson said that he recommended was that we should replace the current money that's out there in circulation, take that out, and replace it with a new printed money. So it's not an ad, it's a replacement. So we keep going back and forth with this. So Mr. Lobbo, the man has defended himself and he has written documentation to say that that is not what he recommended.
Hold on, Papa.
Please. Let me respond to certain things he said. That's
Mr. Lobbo, before you respond, I want to play that tape. We had a debate between Mr. Jackson and Mr. Ellis Jones, and the question was asked specifically whether to print money or not to print money.
Thank you very much. Go for it.
Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Well, I am for the printing. I am for printing new banknotes for the following reasons. Between 2016 and 2018, the Unity Party government and its central bank criminally and diabolically infused $18.151 billion into the money supply.
Thank you.
It did that with no regard to economic science, with no regard to what we call the quantitative theory of money.
Mr. Jackson, your words.
Yeah, so, exactly. So if I'm mentioning quantitative theory of money, that implies the linear relationship between economic growth rate and the money supply.
All right.
But we want to know this now. We want to know this.
Okay,
when you said for printing new money, did you mean for printing new money to add to the additional money, or did you mean for printing new money for the replacement? Wait, I will come to you.
Of course.
Okay, he's saying replacement.
Listen to it, guys. Once an economist mentions quantitative, maybe I should speak in
layman term.
Yeah, lower version, because if somebody mentions quantitative theory of money, they're telling you that there has to be a close linear relationship between the economic growth rate and the money supply. So if you apply $35 billion into what I already calculated at the 26 or 24 billion, you're going to more than what? Almost like what? 60 billion in the money supply. That would destroy not only the money supply, but would destroy the current, it would destroy the economy, and it would cause a great war because purchasing power would be reduced to like zero, and then in poverty and instability and all of those things. But
okay. Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Okay, George Lobbo.
Hello, William.
Wait, go ahead.
Just join us. I just want to introduce him, and then you can go ahead. Mr. Morris T. Mann has just joined the discussion. So, Mr. Mann, welcome to Focus on Liberia. Just a word or two.
Yeah, thank you, Jao, for bringing me on, and thank you to other hosts. Anyway, my name is Morris Mann, and I'm not strange to this platform. I was just before discussing why it is necessary that we demonetize the currency. So I'm not new to this platform. I come from the background of financial management. I have like 12 years experience in both public sector and private sector financial management. I worked as auditor in Liberia for seven and a half years with the General Auditing Commission. I was recruited by the EU competitive vetting process in 2006, and I started work with the General Auditing Commission. I came to the United States and school year, work year. I hold an MBA in business administration and MSc in accountancy. I come to the platform with a position of strength and with a non-partisan view, despite I am a member of the Congress of Democratic Change, but I as a professional, let me sound as a disclaimer, I as a professional Liberians that want to see Liberia moving forward, want to see economic, sincere economic growth in my country.
Thank you.
So guys, I'm here to make my contribution.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. Welcome. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Lobbo.
Dennis, you see, I come to this platform every time I come here. It's trying to maintain integrity, respect for the facts, and not misinforming our people. There's something that was missing in the clip. In Mr. Jackson's word, he said, and I quote, he said the United Party government infused criminally 18 billion. That statement is false, it's misleading, and he should retract that statement. And I stand by it.
You will get to that statement. You will get to that statement, but answer the big question first. Now, did he say print additional money, or did he say print to replace?
Listen, William, what I'm not going to do here is I'm not going to go back and forth with Mr. Jackson. Dennis just played Mr. Jackson's own word. Mr. Jackson appeared on my talk show. We had a lengthy debate about the money. We discussed, and I told Mr. Jackson that there needed to be the structural financial issues needed to be addressed first and foremost before discussing printing of money. We had a heated discussion, and I know Mr. Jackson's word. And listen, I will leave that to the public and the Liberian people, because what I'm not going to do here is to sit down here and take all the Liberian people time. Let me finish. What I'm going to do here is to state what I know is factual and to state the facts and let the Liberian people decide for themselves. Here's what I want to say.
The Liberian people are not expressed in monetary economics.
Oh, let me finish my statement. I'm not here to question
let me finish.
Mr. Jackson, you cannot interrupt me, sir. If I'm speaking, you should give me the chance. You spoke lengthily here for over 10 minutes uninterrupted. I didn't come here to listen. I come to this platform with respect for all Liberians, regardless of your background. I did not come. Let me finish. I don't want to be. If I keep getting interrupted, then I don't have to speak. I'll listen. Let me finish my statement. And I think this is what we should do. There are Liberians who are tuning here today. They want to listen, and I hope we do them that favor and respect them, and let's allow each other to speak one at a time. I've done it, and let's do it, please. I want to just do it. Let me finish my statement, Semi. You can respond. You spoke for 10 minutes uninterrupted. Let me speak. All right? Here's what I have to say to this. I did not come here to question Mr. Jackson's credential. I did not come here to listen to Mr. Jackson's resume. I came here to question Mr. Jackson's statement on the facts. And one thing I've done is I've been able to show the inconsistency in his statements. Mr. Jackson said something that I said I disagree with. He said the United Party government criminally infused 18 billion in the economy, which I disagree. You play a clip which Mr. Jackson stated that. Now let's get to the infusion of money. That is one thing that we have not talked about. We know that in 2016, the United Party government of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf printed 5.5 billion. Mr. Jackson today also said that the central bank governor and that of Charles Sirleaf were prosecuted for criminally printing money without the authorization of the legislature, which of course it is not true. Alex, you have the article. The article in there, the case the Liberian government had against Green was for the printing of the excess, which the Liberian government said in the tune of something billion. In addition, when we go to the core report shows 1.944 billion in excess, because 15.5 billion or 10.5 billion was what was authorized by the Liberian legislature. We have documentation from the lawmakers approving that. The excess was 1.99 or 4 million or billion dollars. What I'm here to say is this: money do not get infused in the economy overnight. So Mr. Jackson, as an economist, as an experienced practical economist, must not tell us that the United Party government infused 18 billion, which is not true, because we know the facts. 10.5 billion arrived in Liberia in November of 2017. The first consignment of that money cleared the free port in February, on February 5th in 2018. So in 2018, who was in power? Was it the United Party government or the CDC government? The infusion of the 10.5 billion that went missing today unaccounted for. The United Party was no longer in power. So Mr. Johnson's statement that UP infused 18 billion is a lie. And I'm here to call him out on that lie. And let me say this again. Mr. Jackson also said that the United Party government did not do all this financial analysis. You are contradicting and misinforming our people, Mr. Jackson. The 10.5 billion that was printed in 2017, that money was printed to replace the legacy note. I hope you know that. It was not additional money printed to be put in circulation. That money came to Liberia with a purpose. The purpose was to replace the legacy bank notes. So I hope we can state that today and stop telling the people that the people just went and printed money. That is not true. So there was a reason. So there's nothing wrong that happened here. Now we have the documents that shows that the excess that was printed was not printed at the request of the central bank. Kua herself admitted to printing it. Kua also said she granted the Liberian government 3 options on how that money could be managed or destroyed. The Liberian government requested the money to come. And Samuel Jackson, I want you to know today that the central bank governor who was in action as of January 22nd, 2018, no longer worked for the United Party government. He was now working for the CDC government. So this notion that UP infused 18 million is not true. And that is my position on it. So Samuel Jackson can say what he wants to say. I want us to look at the timeline of where the money was printed, how the money arrived in Liberia. If Samuel Jackson wants to prove me wrong, let's separate it, how the money arrived, and then we'll set the facts up for our people. That's my position on this.
Okay, thank you very much. Look, I see him making a lot of effort to do a justification on the timing of when the money was actually put into the money supply, you know, and that is like jumping through hoops. Okay, 47% of that money was put into the economy in early 2018. Okay. There's no doubt about that. Hold on a second. Don't start getting happy, okay? Because what you're trying to do is trying to make it seem like the United Party had no part to play. I went to the central bank. I stayed at the central bank for 30 days. I asked people in the research and planning department of the central bank, gave me a piece of paper, even a one-page or concept note, concept document, or analysis, which informed the printing of this money and how this money was going to be used. Now, nobody showed me in terms of a matrix or any kind of methodology to infuse this money. So it was not. Okay. And I know for a fact that the central bank did not show any seigniorage income. He said to me this money was destined to replace legacy notes. The central bank itself said they only replaced 4 billion. That's what they said. There is no evidence that 4 billion was burned. Secondly, this money that came into the country, the 10 billion was unauthorized by the national legislature. If you can go up and come down, you can go and fall into the river. 10 billion was not authorized. Only 5 billion was authorized. That is the record. That is the record. You can jump in 10 hoops. That doesn't change the record. And the indictment was very clear. They were criminally indicted for not getting proper authorization in the printing of 10 billion. The 2 billion was an additional charge that also brought in Crow, the culpability of Crow, by printing this money without authorization. So you're talking about several different things here going together. See, what all Mr. Lobbo is trying to do is trying to absolve the Unity Party government of any responsibility. But the origin of the printing of the banknotes, the 16th, and first of all, when you're about to print banknotes, you either do it routinely to replace mutilated notes, or you have a monetary policy. That monetary policy will either be contractionary, right? Or it will be expansionary, which is quantitative easing. So where is the public record? Can Mr. Lobbo show me any public record from the central bank to show what that policy was, whether it was contractionary or whether it was expansionary? Okay. In the absence of any documentation to that effect, it was illogical, it was unscientific. And lastly, and I hope I want to end in my position on this, I wrote a paper on this. I've circulated that paper widely. It says very clearly what my views are on the quantum, on the monetary aggregate, and what should happen in terms of what the solution should be with excess money supply in the currency. I said change the currency. If you look at my paper and you see anywhere I said print additional money, I will never come back on this show. But Mr. Alex Tutu Jones, you read my paper. Mr. Janice Dye, you read my paper. And my paper is very scientific. It has a lot of regressions in there, a lot of econometric modeling in there. It was very, very clear. We made a determination on the quantum of the money supply. We said if the print at 16, it is about 27 billion. If the print at 18.15, Mr. Lobbo himself must admit that is every even controversy between the PRT report. The PRT is the government-owned committee, the Presidential Investigation Task Force, headed by Alex Coffey, and they said 18.151 billion. I have spoken to people in the task force, and they say they stand by their report. They have not yet given any additional information and clarification on that report. So I'm an empiricist. I read, and the national authority on the printing of that money will not be Crow. It will be the Presidential Investigation Task Force. As an economist, we use the national authority. And that's all I have to say about this money issue.
Thank you. So thank you. I think that George and Sammy, I think that this thing warrants another show where we can have more time allotted to this discussion, because Mr. Jackson, you said a lot of things here that I think is very heavy for our viewers. And I think that, George has, while he was looking around, I think his heart was just itching to counter some of the things that you just said. And I was sure, because the length of our show, we have another topic. And so I think what we are going to do is we're going to find a time for you and George to come back. And we will just focus simply on this printing and monetary policy and the quantum of money and all this nice big economical jargon that I'm going to ask you to break it down for me a little bit more, for me and for our viewers, because it's something that I would like to know more about. So we're going to go to our next topic. And
Mr. Jackson, Mr. William,
before we
I
go,
think that
hold on, Alex.
Yeah.
Before we go to the next topic, I want to bring in Maurice Tiedemann and Alex in this discussion. They have heard both sides. They are economic and financial people. So we want to hear from them before we move. Maurice is from member of the CDC, but he told us that he's here as a professional person. So Maurice, before you come, Alex, I interrupted you, so I want you to continue, and then I want to both.
No, I will give a gentleman the honor of letting him come.
Yeah, he's a guest. Alex at home.
Yeah, I interrupted him. That's what I was saying. So okay, Maurice. So you heard both sides. To talk about money, the printing of the issues that Mr. Lobbo came to respond to, the printing of money. Now,
and the infusion as well.
Number one was the printing of the money. Number two, the Unity Party, according to what he said, infused criminally and diabolically, infused 18 billion in the economy, and then the arrest of Governor Weeks because of his criminal involvement into the printing of the money, and then on some structural issues where he said they have some agreement and disagreement. So they have, you heard the aside. If I was speaking from the Bible, I would say, what sayest thou? What do you say?
Yes, and Jai, I was here before, and I weigh in on this issue on many fronts. I even did a letter to the national legislature, outlining some of the issues that the senior comrade and Jackson just pointed out. Yeah, I see my brother Lobbo trying to exonerate the Unity Party government, and for me, I as a professional, and I don't want to be Unity Party versus CDC. You understand? But let's go to the issue. Let's go to the meat of the issue. And I think one thing Lobos tried to play blind eye on is the issue of authority and how the central bank has some autonomous say. According to the act, he needs to read the act. And the thin line between, in terms of influence from the executive, in terms of administrative and operational activity of the central bank. When he tried to do some time period analysis, time interval, when the CDC government came to power, he wanted to share responsibility. I said no. I'm saying no, because the central bank of Liberia, according to, in line with the act that created the institution, it prohibits and direct influence of the president office, the executive, into the operational and administrative activities of the bank. When the money was printed and brought into the country, percentage of the money were infused in the economy. The metrics that were used for the infusement was not documented. And when the CDC government came to power, we still had the governor that was serving a tenure position. And when you serve a tenure position, honor the act that created the institution, the law, it gave you some power, it gave you some authority to exercise a responsibility and to be held accountable. Today, the central bank governor, the former central bank governor, is going through investigation because he was in charge. So the CDC government cannot share in that responsibility. On the issue of the printing of the money, when I came on the show before, I stated it clear that the process of the printing and infusement was criminally done. I come from a professional background, an auditor and a forensic investigator. I know how this thing works. And you can't just go out there and print money. Money is a legal tender. So to have that authority to be called legal tender, it should have some legislative approval. If it fails to go through that approval process, then the issue of legality of that money is questioned. It was on that basis I wrote an open letter to the national legislature to demonetize the money, because we don't even know the quantum of money in the market. And according to statistics, some report out there we're reading on a daily basis, and 80% of our money is circulating outside the banking sector. It's very risky and huge inflation. The security of our money is one of the issues. We don't have a unique security feature to detect the real money counterfeit. So money is a national security issue. So for somebody to come all year and want to justify the process, but it is an open secret that the process, the metric used was not documented. Nobody cannot tell how they derive at the decision. Even the intent, they said they wanted to withdraw the mutilated money. They didn't even tell how much in terms of statistics, the amount of mutilated money that was withdrawn from the market. And what that money was withdrawn? If they were withdrawn, was it quarantine? How can we locate that amount of money? How can we provide? There's any documents that provide accountability for that process? Whether the money was, because you say you were printing the money to withdraw the mutilated money. Well, you printed the money. You get any process to explain to all how the money was printed, how much was retrieved, how much was retrieved as mutilated money, and where you have then? Can we see then Or if it was destroyed, what the process, what the documentation. So those things that are married the process, it just question the whole process. Any rational financial expert or financial person or even an ordinary person will say, no, the issue of our money is vulnerable, and to address the issue, the only thing we recommend it, and for me, I recommend it, is to demonetize the currency. Because when you demonetize the currency, you withdraw all the money because you don't even know why in the market. You can withdraw.
Thank you, Mr. Man.
Let me respond to him here real quick. Since this is his first time, let me respond to some of the things he says as a professional. You see, my job here is not to question your professionalism and your background. But what you say here today, it raises a lot of concerns from your statements. It's sad to know that you will sit here today and tell me as a professional that the way the money was infused, that I'm trying to move the Unity Party. Or Dennis, because of time, I wish we can host a show next time between this professional and myself. In my hands here is the cross-examination of Governor Weeks before the Liberian legislature. You see, when we come to these discourse, we must come here with facts and read sufficient. According to Governor Weeks doing cross-examination, let me say something, let me read for the Liberian people so they can have some basic understanding. He said, former Speaker Newquay, we mandated the CBL to replace the legacy bank. That was a statement of Emmanuel Newquay doing cross-examination. According to Governor Weeks, 5 billion was printed in 2016. They said they were only able to infuse 2 billion out of the 5. He said, we then ensure the use of the remaining money. The money was put back in the board, which Governor Weeks testified before the legislature. I heard you saying that the process in which the money was printed was flawed, was unconstitutional. That in itself is another lie, and I challenge you. Let me say this. Governor Weeks doing cross-examination, and later he said, let me read what he said. During the cross-examination, he explained that the procedures in printing banknotes begin with the legislature, who authorize the executive, and the executive would then inform the CBL. However, following the communication from the legislature, when he received the communication from the legislature, so I don't understand where you people come from today and say there was no authorization. When you read the government charges dropped against Crane, the Liberian government dropped charges because of an excess $3 billion. Alex, you have that article. I want you to read it for the public and state the facts. Because the Liberian government is not suing Crane for illegally printing some 10.5 billion the last time I checked. So all the argument that is sitting here making today is baseless and waste of time. But let me say something. As an economist and a professional, as many of you said, we know that 10.5 billion arrived in Liberia in November. We agree that the central bank is a turning position that does not relinquish the executive branch of government from its responsibility. President George Weah was the president as of January 22nd, 2018. Whatever happened in Liberia, he was responsible as of that day. So the notion that people want to sit here and tell us that he was not, the central bank was all UP people, that's not true. The current information minister was the information minister under the Ellen government. Why you can't say he was bad? But when it has to do with CDC and the government taking responsibility, people tend to shift blame here and there. What you who come to defend the government don't want to do is this. It's simple. We all know that there's in no way any central bank governor will infuse 10 billion in the economy in less than 8 months. It don't make sense.
All right.
Let me finish my statement. Because we know that if 5 billion that was printed in 2016, if only 2 billion was infused, the question that we need to ask here and must be answered is how was the 10.5 billion, the excess that entered Liberia, that cleared the port February 5th, 2018, how was that particular money infused in the economy? Now, as God would have it, the central bank governor appointed by the CDC government, which happens to be Nathaniel Petrie, told the world, and it is documented in the core report, on October 1st, 2018, that no money was missing. So technically, your argument and Samuel Jackson's argument is a lie. Because if the central bank governor appointed by the president told the world that the money was in the vault, that no money was missing on October 1st, October 1st, 2018 was it a unity party in power again? So what's the argument here, folks? We need to state the truth. And I hope that when we come out here, like I said, I don't come here to question people's professional background, your resume, but I will question your logic and your argument on the facts. And that's what I've done today. My fellow Liberians, this government did wrong with our money. They must account for it. The core report states that given the discrepancy in the shipping label as of December, the money that arrived, the 10.5 billion. Hold on 1 second, folks. December 4th, so the report also makes it clear now that because of that there needs to be further understanding. The only way we can do a further understanding in the
okay, Mr. Lobbo?
Okay, all right, gentlemen.
Yeah,
I would like to ask a question to Sam, and the gentleman here who graciously joined us. One, I debated Sam on this issue of printing money, so I very well know what Sam said and what he didn't say, and the records will show it. Sam was very convinced that the government should print more money. I read his paper, even though the growth in Liberia was declining, but according to his theory and his paper, that if the growth is declining, right, then why will you print money? But then he came on an argument and said, well, we should print more money, it would be a good theory and whatnot. And you can play the tape. And I told him that it will cause inflation, that it will cause a lot of problems. So let's just be honest on that one. But for the gentleman, you claim that you're not part of, you're here representing your own views. And that's very respectable. I hope most of the Liberian professionals in the other government would be able to appear on panel and discuss economic and financial issues. Mr. Lobbo just said that the Central Bank of Liberia governor claimed that no money was missing. Okay, the Central Bank of Liberia conducted no internal audit that is published that suggests that money was missing. The Ministry of Finance has no record to prove that money was missing, except for the statements that were made at one point or another. So again, I'm gonna have to ask you guys, if you're claiming on one day that no money is missing, or there's nothing wrong with the system, or no diabolically printing of money, then what's the issue here? Why would we be discussing that the Ellie Johnson Sirleaf administration printed money diabolically, and money was being printed, and then the central bank governor, the previous central bank governor, Weeks, was arrested and so forth? That's my question to you two gentlemen. If you could just answer, I haven't had a chance to deliberate on this issue. You guys been going on for 10, 15 minutes, but I like to ask questions first. So is that not correct? Yeah, go ahead.
Can I respond to your question?
Yes,
sure.
Please.
Okay, the issue that I'm raising is not the issue of money missing. The issue I'm raising and other professionals are raising is the process leading to the printing and infusement of the currency. And let me just give a typical examples here. I'm an auditor, and I came to audit your entity, and there was a allotment to procure certain equipment to carry on certain function of government. And you didn't go through the procurement process, but you procure the equipment, you bought the equipment, we see the equipment. But before you buy the equipment, the law says that any purchase above $10,000 should be a bidding process. and you failed to go through the bidding process. There was no bidding process. You just went and just went to the street and bought the equipment. Yeah, we've seen the equipment, but the fact that you failed to acknowledge the constitutional laid down processes. That question whether or not you actually pay that money, probably you pay that money, but it's something to be questioned. That violation, that impropriety.
And I agree with you 100%. I totally agree with you that if the law says, if the law says.
So now, these are issues that lead to corruption. These are issues that undermine the issue of transparency and accountability. So if we try to transition, if the issue now having problems, now people, they're one war, one war to another. And as I listened to Lobbo reading statement made by and somebody that was indicted before court. People made statement to exonerate themselves, but the fact had to be cross-checked to know whether your statement can find you guilty or not. So what you're reading is the governor's statement. It's not fact.
No. My question to you, Mr. Mann, is it not true? Is it or is it not true that the governor on
You went off, Alex. We're not hearing you. Alex, your line is off. Alex, your line is off. We can hear you.
Dennis, I think this stuff went on a pause for a second. This whole screen.
All right.
So you see, Dennis, this is why I tell people, why is it that people are using Verizon and Sprint and T-Mobile when you have Lone Star? You know, all this signal stuff. Let me send him a message.
Morris, he was asking the statement Lobbo made by Alex. Are you there now? But I think you heard what he was asking. So go ahead and respond.
Can you restate the statement?
Yeah, my question is, the central bank governor that was appointed by President George Weah made a public statement that is reported in the newspaper article that there was no money missing, the container of money that was missing, that was alleged and that the money was accounted for. Is that statement true? Was that not said by the central bank governor?
I listened to him, he said it, but it didn't be validated.
Okay, but thank you very much. So that statement, the central bank government said there's no money missing. So if there was no money missing, right, according to the central bank, right, then why are we accusing Elliot Johnson Saliva of printing money, and why is Mr. Weeks was indicted? Exactly. If there was no money missing.
Okay, but great. Now,
no, that go back to Mr. Mayor. Come back to you, Mr. Jackson. Let Mr. Mayor answer that question.
Let me answer that for you. The issue about this missing money, the announcement of it originated from Minister Len Eugene Nambwe, who went on VOA and on BBC to say that some money came in container, the money appears missing. And that controversy went on for 2 solid weeks. 2 weeks. One day, I'm watching OKFM, and I hear the Minister of Finance says that money was infused into the money supply. And like Mr. Mann said, people can say anything.
But we're not talking about Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, hold on here. We are not talking about people. We're talking about an appointed central bank governor.
Yes, exactly.
That's not people.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'm saying, even in authority, President Trump lies every day.
Okay, so but since I'll not let you get away with this, Mr. Jackson.
No, I'm saying, but hold on a second. No, listen.
Hold on now. No, that one, see, I allow you guys to talk. So I just asked my question. Let me ask my question. You have the floor. Okay, let me ask my question. You have the floor. Like I said, you guys went for 10, 15 minutes. I'm listening. Mr. is not the head of the the Federal Reserve Bank. Okay, the head of the Central Bank of Liberia claimed no money is missing. He's not anybody. So why are we talking about previous government and why are we indicting people?
Okay, great. The Minister of Information is not a central bank governor. He said money was missing.
Is he qualified to make that statement?
Yeah.
Is he qualified to make that statement?
Listen, I'm not speaking on that. Look, the government has a disjointed communications strategy policy. That's not my fault. The Minister of Finance, who is chairman of the economic management team, he said there was no money missing. Okay. But we had two independent bodies who wrote reports. The PIT said we need further forensic examination. The Crow report said we need further forensic examination. The government came in and disingenuously asked the GSC, you listen to me? They asked the GSC to do a process audit, not a forensic audit. So the GSC came up with a cockamamie report. Up until today, the Liberian people don't know whether money was missing, whether money was not missing. And I'll give you my experience. When I went to do my monetary aggregate study, I sought to delve into how this money was infused into the banking system. I could not see any significant amount of evidence that this was done in any way that conformed to any banking rules, any science, or just common sense. And there's little or zero audit trail to how that money was infused. Now, the reason why it baffles me is that the amount of time it took for this money to be infused into the banking system, and for that quantum to leave that banking system and go to the informal system, that is very troubling to me. I
totally agree, but my point is, like I said, I like to be with finance people. We deal with exact amounts. Okay, if it's $10.25, it's $10.25. Okay, the point I'm trying to make here, all right, is that you agree the Minister of Finance Council, Samuel Tuer, says no money missing. The governor of the central bank, Nat Patrick, says no money is missing. But then you go and you indict people, and the Ministry of Justice go and call an investigation, spending Liberian people money, arresting people, putting them in jail, even though the central bank, either the central bank government doesn't know what he's doing, or the Ministry of Information, or like you said, the whole government is dysfunctional.
Let me clarify something on that statement. Let me clarify something here. Let me say this. Here's what they don't want to do. And let me say this very quickly. You see, Alex, to hear Samuel Jackson as a professional to tell us again that the government have communication problem, that in itself is disheartening. Samuel Jackson have been in the business of defending this government when they are in good terms. That makes it very difficult for him. You see, this is why I don't want to get personal about this conversation. I try to be as professional as I can be. What happened, Alex, you've been very focused on the facts here. The facts are clear. In the Crow report, you know what I was just checking for, even though I had technical difficulties.
Kroll or Crean? Kroll or Crean? No, I'm not understanding. Kroll or Crean? Sorry, go ahead.
The Crow report, the people that were brought in to investigate the missing money. What I'm going to do, I will send you the Crow report.
Okay,
in the
go ahead.
Report, it acknowledges that the legislature authorized the printing of the additional 10.5 billion. It says it in there. And it said that the excess is what was not authorized. So the argument they're trying to make don't make sense here. But I will leave it and give them the benefit of the doubt. But
yeah, but no, Mr. Lobbo, I think you spoke on the point, and I got my own issue.
Let me finish something here. Let me finish something here.
But Mr. Lobbo, hold on now. We all got to share the time.
No, but you were off. Alex, wait, let him land. Let him land. Go ahead.
Let me finish this. on the infusion of the money. For if Samuel Jackson argument is that the government have communication problem, then in itself, it tells the Liberian people that there is just a joke. The Minister of Finance ran a map-up exercise to map up excess liquidity. And he told the world that no money was missing. So if no money was missing, that means you had the money in the board. Why were you mapping up if you had all the money in the board? How does it make sense?
And now I'm seeing, Mr. Lobbo, you made your point, and it will go back to.
Let me just leave it with it. Let it go ahead.
No, hang on, yeah. We here to discuss economics and finance, not politics. But again, we'll go back to Mr. Man. You're a professional person. You came with your resume, very respectable. All right. When a central bank governor, not Patriot, and a minister of finance, who Mr. Singh claims that this man knows everything about finance, is one of the best in the business. Okay, has access to every Liberian financial data. He has over 800 people or 600 people working for him. He comes out and he makes a statement and says no money is missing. And then he goes back, and then the Attorney General of the country, Solicitor General, comes out and says, oh yeah, money is missing, and you arrest people, Mr. Man. Do you think that's right? When the central bank and the finance minister say no money missing, I have an article right here, right? Which I'm going to share. That says that no money is missing.
And Alice,
yeah,
I think
please.
You need to read the indictment to know the basis of the investigation. And according to the report, instead of $15.5 million.
Okay, thank you.
Instead of $15.5 million, am I clear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, but you see, the joint, what I'm asking is that I know, like, hold on. I'm asking a direct question. And I don't want, we have time. So the question I'm asking you, no, because you're going over time, you're going to, I'm not talking about the indictment. What I'm asking you, if the central bank governor says no money is missing, right? Today, and the finance minister says no money is missing. This is reported on CNN. Yes, the statement here for now picture on CNN from the city administration, from the we administration. Why would they come back then again and say, oh, by the way, these people are they took me and they were corrupt? That's what I'm asking you.
That is a question, not yes or no question. Give me a little bit. So
all right, you have the whole time. Go ahead. Tell me that, please.
The first thing was we should have the indictment to know the basis of the indictment.
But I'm not talking about the indictment.
Listen.
My question isn't about the legal aspect. My question is, as a professional person, if the Central Benefit Reserve comes out, okay, hold on. Mr. Man, I'm not a legal professional. I'm a financial analyst, okay? You're not a legal professional, so we can talk indictment here and nobody will read indictment. The question that I'm putting to you, sir, as a financial person, the person who has the financial and physical policy in Liberia is the Minister of Finance. The person who has the monetary policy in Liberia is the central bank. If they came out and said no money is missing, it's reported on CNN, looking at it. Then they come back months later and say, oh, by the way, there is money missing. Do you think they have any credibility? Do you think that you can trust these people to manage the Liberian? That's the question I'm asking you. Now, I'm asking you.
I don't know what you're reading from.
I'm reading for CNN. I'm reading for CNN News. And I'm reading this, and you can read it. I can send it to you. It's all year was reported on October 3rd, 2018. It says this statement. Hold on. You asked me a question. Let me answer the question where I'm reading from. I read my news. I get news from credible news agencies. Unless you're seeing that the CNN report is wrong. Yes, the report here that everybody's looking at, talking about the government saying there's no money missing. It quotes the central bank governor. It quotes in a statement. Nathaniel Patriot said in a statement, no money is missing.
And Alice,
and Samuel Jackson now going out there and saying, oh, money went there and people took money and today people and you coming now and saying, oh yes, there was yes, what your government is saying.
Alice, can you get
okay, please.
Let's listen to the man make his case. Let's get to the next topic. Let's listen to the question.
Alice,
all right.
The first thing, the ones I want to see the indictment to know what the indictment says. But the authoritative report that I will look at is PRTR report and the CREA report, because that report is authoritative because there's sufficient investigation to come up with their findings. So that's the authoritative information I'm going to look at in those reports. The report didn't say money loss. What the report said, the process that led to the printing and the infusement of the money was not documented. The accounting system, you cannot show any record how the process went on. So they recommended a forensic investigation. So they stay because there was no document.
Mr. Man, thank you very much for your explanation. Unfortunately, as a professional person, you did not answer the question. Okay, well, sir, like I said, I asked you a direct question. I didn't ask you a legal question. I asked you a financial question. You did not answer the question. Can we move on, please?
Yes, let's proceed. Let's leave it. I just wanted to clear the air and state the facts, and I've done that. Let's proceed.
Look, I just want to say something quickly. Nobody in this forum can exonerate anybody legally. And I agree with you, Alex, that this forum is not meant to exonerate. But it's clear that Mr. George Lobbo, a die-hard, fanatic unity partisan, is on this forum to deflect criticism from the ancien regime that brought us to be the second poorest country on the planet, when we have $10 billion of ODA flowing to the country, when we have waiver,
I think
we have 12 years of peace. Not a firecracker was fired in that
Thank
you.
Let me respond to Semi lies again. I want to respond to Semi. I came here to respond to Semi speak.
Gentlemen, but gentlemen, Mr. Jackson, Mr. Lobbo.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. We are moving on. I think we will have a separate time so we can debate the issue about CDC and Unity Party, because CDC and Unity Party keep creeping up in this discussion, and it is not. This
is my point, Mr. Jack. Mr. Jack.
George Lobbo have to defend himself.
Okay, Mr. Jack, can I speak? Mr. Jack, can I please speak? Yeah, we cannot just say something again. Like I said, these gentlemen have plenty of time. I did not outside and I listen. Okay, these gentlemen do shows every day. This is the only show where we talk economic and finance. And we keep it to economic and finance. We're not here to tell you whether Eli Johnny's administration should good or bad, or Joshua administration good or bad. We're here to look at policies. We're here to look at procedures. We're here to look at economic and financial actions. That's all we're here for. You want to discuss the politics, there are many shows we can go on and we can talk politics. But in this case here, what we're saying, when a central bank governor comes out and speaks, it has to carry some kind of validity. It has to carry some kind of weight. We can't have irresponsible people running our monetary policy who don't do any research, come out in the international press and make bogus statements only to come back and retract it time after time again. That's not a government, okay? That's like what I would call a joke. And that's a fact.
At least a Boy Scout, not joke. It's a Boy Scout.
So let us now support that, as financial people, let us be responsible. Our integrity is on the line. Our profession is on the line. And no matter who does it, whether it's Eli Johnson administration or it's Joshua administration, we should be real and come out and say the finance minister or the central bank governor was irresponsible, or is he inept? Because you don't come out and make such a statement. We're all doing a review. We're all doing some research. All right? You don't do that as a central bank governor. What were we running here?
And you don't come.
Maybe it was a strategy, Alex. You don't know. Maybe it was the strategy to prevent people from running to the bank and taking all their money out. You don't know what his thinking was.
That's
so we got to invite the man.
That's a lie, and that's criminal. That's criminal because your statement are public policy, and you speak on an oath to hold that position, that you'll be truthful in your statement. So if you came out in false statement, you should go to jail.
Right.
If you know and give a true statement, that's what the law says. You're lying to the people on financial matters. That's the real economic crimes. It's in our laws.
Unfortunately, politics dominate our lives, and so
yeah, the man made a mistake. That's a small mistake he made.
And that's why I get upset. Look, I think Sam Jackson is one of the best Liberian economy around. But here's why I disagree with Sam Jackson on, and we've had this debate many times. All right. Sam Jackson wants to see people, like he mentioned the other day, David Vinton, and he mentioned all these names. Okay. These were people who ran our economic and financial structure into the ground. They don't have anything to show today. There are Nigerians and Ghanaians running our policies. And you're talking about David Vinton and Samuel, and what's his name? David Vinton and Winston Tappe. What did they do for Liberia? The very banks they ran, they can't even show a financial statement. So that's why I get upset with my man Sam Jackson. When you say somebody is sound or letter, it's not your education, it's your accomplishment. What did you do for your country? How many industries did you set up? David Vinton, I said, he's been, central bank governor or somebody since our third grade. I never read one article that this man has written or published on economic or financial policy. Go. That's not a man that I would look at as a model to say that we should be looking at him. And that's the problem in Liberia. We got a bunch of people who just come here to get degrees to go back and they say, oh, I have to master. If you have to master, write it. Come on, discuss your policy. That's what you see central bank governors around the world doing. You look at Sanusi in Nigeria. Go look at his publications. Look at his policy. Look at how where he's built in the industries in those countries. So let us stop playing joke with economics and finance because it's destroying people's lives. It's not politics.
Okay, Alex, I see you on a roll. I think this is a good time to get into this next topic about the Lloyder Group partners. For our viewers who are listening, LBDI, the Liberian bank, as it's known as by most of us, basically designed deal with an investment bank for the investment arm, and I would like Alex to basically tell us a little bit more about this Lloyder Group partner. What is it? What does that mean? Is this a venture capitalist? Now, if it is, and these are for most of our hosts and people who are listening. So does this mean that this is a capital bank that's coming in to invest in Liberia? Aren't we saying that the country is not the right place to clamor for investment, but yet here's a bank coming in, partnering up, here's an investment firm coming in and partnering up. So which one is it? Is this the right time? Is this not? Is this a Liberian investment group or is this an African investment group? And why not Liberians? Yes or no? So we're moving into the next segment, which is going to be very interesting. Alex, please tell us a little bit about that article and what that means.
Well, I thank you again. And again, unfortunately, some people in the field don't take it upon the time to go out there and see what's happening in the economic and finance. It's so embroiled in politics that they miss everything that happened to our country. And, it's a travesty that's going on in Liberia. You have a bunch of foreign firms that go to Liberia and just rip the government, ripped everybody off, walk away with millions and millions and tens of millions of dollars. Like you said, the Crow report again. You know how much money Crow made in Liberia? Why people don't even have money. So let me just stick to the issue here. Okay. So I was reading Front Page magazine, and I came across this article that says that the front page, that the LBD Bank for Investment and Development were partnering with this Lloyder Group partners to run the investment bank in Liberia. And for those of you who don't know investment bank, or those of you who are not into finance, basically when you have a bank, the banks do different things, right? One aspect of the bank may be where you go and deposit money and they keep your savings account. That's usually called commercial bank, okay, for practical intents and purposes. Then banks also go in and they finance things like GE, or they finance things like businesses, small businesses, large scale businesses, payroll, things like that, letter of credit. So in 2013, I took it upon myself to start reviewing Liberian banks because I'm of the strong opinion that you cannot have a thriving economy if you have weak banks or ill-managed banks. And that's what's happening in Liberia. We don't have the financial expertise. Everybody who's in finance, the only job is to go and work for a government or to go join a political party. And it's disappointing because it's an insult to the profession. Okay, so what happened is this thing, LBDI, was set up by the International Trust Company and Liberia, under the World Bank. Basically, after World War II, they decided to help all the small countries. And by helping the small countries build the industries, agriculture and other things, and the Western economy will be good because it will have products and so forth. So these countries gave out grants to different countries, Ghana, Liberia, and help them set up banks for the sole purpose of things like agriculture, for things like housing, but for other production. That's what LBDI was designed to do, right? So I did some research and I published an article on Front Page Magazine, and I looked at the LBDI administration at the time. I think it was Francis, Dennis were there, or whoever. And I saw how poorly this institution was. The people did not even have a financial statement up to today as I speak to you right now. If you go on LBDI website, okay, they can't even publish a financial statement. Okay, so I started looking and started reviewing and I started looking at what you call Echo Bank, who had just gone to Liberia, who just started, I think, in 1986 with $5 million. They were making over $20 million just from the Liberian banks in Liberia profit. All right. And I saw they were moving into different counties. And when I look at the Liberian banks with all our degrees, and fine education, it was worthless. I sent an email to LBDI Bank to purchase share in the company. Up to the day, I haven't even gotten a response back. And this was 2013. At the time, I was trading and investing, and I like, okay, let me.
Can you pause right there? Can you pause right there? So, are you saying that as a Liberian person, this bank LBDI, are you saying that that you as a Liberian wanted to invest in 2013 in a Liberian company, in a Liberian business, and you wrote the letter? Did you write the letter to the
email? They had an email on the website, which I'm going to put up here.
I think we should let Samuel Jackson and the other guys chip in. Let's talk about it together. I think that's it.
Oh, we're gonna get there. We will get there. I just want to lay ground. I want to lay ground because I'm trying to understand here how this Liberian guy is saying that he wanted to buy some shares from a diaspora, wanted to invest back in his country, and he sent an email, and he didn't hear anything back, whether that's not the way they do it, whether those shares are not to be purchased. So please tell me about this experience. It's important.
So I emailed, and this was on the Salif administration, and I think at the time, Amal County was the chairman of the board, because by virtue of the government owning shares in LBDI, because it's kind of like a state-owned institution, the finance minister is usually the chairman. So I wrote them and and expressed interest that, look, as a Liberian, I know a couple of investors. We want to purchase some shares in the company. Should you guys, I see that your bank is giving shares to foreign individuals. And at the time when I looked at the investors, there were individuals who were not even Liberians that had share in the company. Right. So when I didn't hear anything back from them, I started doing some more research, and I finally came up to the conclusion that these guys didn't know what they were doing, including the current president and CEO, John Davis, or John D.S. Davis. All right. That has been running this bank from 1964. Okay. The government has been giving them money. The only accomplishment that they have today was to go and build a state-of-the-art building when they don't have one Liberian manufacturing. And the money that even took to build the building was a loan. So they went and borrowed money to build office when they didn't even have money. That wasn't even the puzzling part. Go look at the financial statement. It's like somebody scribbled down on a piece of paper. They didn't even know what asset, balance sheet, wherever. And he had been president for the bank for many, many years. And that's Samuel Jackson buddy. All right. Okay. So I was very concerned. Just give me 1 minute, Dennis. I'll close in 1 minute.
What I want to know is because this news article, I first want to understand what it means, because normally when we hear these things, we start to jump and be happy because it says we always say we want investment, right? So by the time we hear that the news say Loyalty Group partners with LBDI to establish first investment banking unit. I don't have any financial background. I will start jumping. I say, oh, investment is coming to Liberia. Why is this bad? Because that I want to get the meat first before we go into the details.
Okay, it's very bad because the purpose of investment bank is to make money, whether in America, China, wherever. So Loyalty, when they go to Liberia to say that they want to set up an investment bank, they're looking for profit to take offside of the country. And if Mr. Jackson and Mr. Man here, who has all this credential, that have all this fine education, if they can set up an investment bank at LBDI, then we should just shut that country down, because setting up an investment bank is, even if you just did 2 years of finance, you should have an understanding of it. You don't need to go and bring somebody from outside to say, okay, let's set an investment bank. So that is bad in itself, that Liberia, one, after all these years, don't have an investment bank. Two, we funding this bank here. We don't have any accountability. The Minister of Finance are on the board of directors. They can't even publish financial statement. And this is today as I speak to you. That then a foreign company come, and what the company is going to do now? They're going to be responsible for financing government government assets and so forth. They're going to be responsible now for things like interest to Liberian industries that are coming from the government, and they're going to make money of it. So I'm outraged that none of our geniuses, financial geniuses, read the article.
Okay. Alex, I read your article, but I did not see anything in there about you saying that you want to bring your investment banking.
No,
my article you want to start a bank. You want to start an investment firm now. You didn't say that. You just said what they should do.
Let's go around the room. Let's get our.
No, let me
come back to that. We'll come back, Alex. We'll come back. We'll come back.
No, I have to respond to that before we go back to the room.
Yeah, let other people
what
speak.
My article suggested. No, listen. What my article suggested. So maybe you need to go and read it. It said that the bank was fully managed, and the only way forward, where the bank has to be divided into two. One should be an investment bank, and one should be a commercial bank. So that was my recommendation. That was what this man took with Davis, because he read the article, because Samuel Jackson read the article and went to his office. And now instead of him saying, okay, this guy came up with this idea in 2013, let me just take the courtesy and say, let me bring Liberians on board. He goes to Mauritius and get people to come and do the exact thing what Liberia has suggested to him. And that's how
I would argue with you, Alex. But that's the argument. That's the argument, no. But we'll come back. We'll pause it there. We'll pause it there. You see, that thing, that's what Boone does said, the technique, sitting down, writing paper all day. But we'll come back and we'll talk about that more. Go ahead.
Morris, your reaction to this news story? Bad, good for the country?
I read the article and read a little bit of it. I still need time to look at all of the little pieces of information. And for me, the fact that we've been yearning for investment capital, and the Loyalty Group is coming in with money is something good that is worth celebrating, but with caution. Because I want to agree with Ellis that the issue of transparency and accountability, the issue of transparency and accountability is acknowledged through the financial statement. I will have to visit an LBDI website to validate his section about LBDI is not issuing financial statement. If it is so, then it's side. Because you as an institution, you cannot be going into partnership with other venture capital group and you don't have a solid and foundation in terms of transparency and accountability. So that's a serious concern. And even the Minister of Finance, that is the chairman of the board, and it should bring bail to him to make an intervention, because we can be having people, because as Ellie read put it, these guys are not doing this for free. They will be benefiting. They will be taking money from out of our economy and lending up money in Liberia is a risky environment. The return on that investment in terms of interest, they'll be going high interest rate. If the financing government project, the interest rate on those financing will be huge. So what the issue of accountability, transparency, if the bank, the LBDR, which is the eye of the government, is not demonstrating yet to be verified, is not demonstrating some level of transparency in their own dealing, I think it's die because these people activities won't be monitored, and there will be no room for Liberian people to know how this partnership is working, what Liberia is benefiting, and what a Liberian have what your window that Liberian can buy, share, or bond in this company, because they will be making a lot of money, and Liberia should also benefit, especially Liberians that want to invest and raise capital.
Thank you. Mr. Lobbo, please include in your reaction to this article, what should the LDBR be looking for? It wants to partner with someone with an investment to establish this. What should it be looking for?
You see, Alex, Mr. Dennis, most of the time when I come to these discussions and I leave, people always refer, here's when I begin to use my policy background more. When I look at economic challenges, I look at it from a holistic point of view. I look at it from a position as the chief executive officer. What is the president's vision for the country? What do you want to achieve? My goal have been very, very simple. I have said that I want to be able to drive an economy that is geared towards wealth building and economic independence. What do I mean by that? That means I need the Ministry of Commerce, the National Investment Commission to focus their policy. They should be liberalization driven. What do I mean by that? Policies that are geared towards empowering Liberians. That is one. If the central government makes it a priority, then we can be able to say, hold on one second. What are some of the businesses that we must allow foreigners to do? Then the government will set those type of rules. But the thing about it, when you ask these questions, sometimes I tend to lean with the economists and the finance people a lot because we'll discuss it from a financial perspective.
Okay.
But let's look at the policy side of things. What are the policies we are offering to make sure that the rights of Liberians are guaranteed in this type of negotiation? This is a Liberian Alex just told us that he called the LBDR and wanted to purchase share, but got no response. That should have been something he should be able to report to the government, and LBDR should be questioned. So when I answer these questions a lot of times, I tend to look at the holistic point of view. But here's what I want to say, Mr. Dennis. I said earlier, I read through the article. You know, normally when I read an article, I will underline, I will circle because I want to highlight the main points. I know Liberians are desperate for investment. I know the CDC government will do anything to put points on the board. Sometimes the Liberian people say, hurry, hurry, boss, Strasser. Some of these negotiations, when a government tends to be desperate, for those of us with the business background, we know what it means in a negotiation. When you have leverage at a negotiation, that's when you turn to gain what you want, because the other man wants you, the man needs you. The Liberian government is desperate to score points. They will take anything, which is a bad thing. I strongly believe, Dennis, given what I've read so far, the original overall intention of the investment is not a bad thing. But what are the policies that have been put forth to guarantee Liberians the potential to invest in that bank? You see, I listened to Alex earlier when he talked about the LBDR being breaking up. What I have proposed, first and foremost, have been very simple. I have said the National Investment Commission must not just be a place where people can just go to register investments when they want to come to Liberia. We need to turn the National Investment Commission into another investment banking opportunity. We need to establish that. We need to be able to raise capital. But Dennis, all these things start from the government itself. When we talk about government cutting wasteful spending, and as a result of the saving from the cleanup, some of these initiatives, we ourselves can fund them. The Liberian government don't have to go begging to seek $53 million from somebody from outside. We have a budget of almost $530 million. If we were to clean the government and cut wasteful spending and consolidate some of these ministries that are ineffective, we can raise the capital to invest in some of these things. We can be able to set up the platform. I think today when I started the show, I made it very clear that I wanted to hear Samuel Jackson FOL for the economics that is geared towards the capitalism side of the economy, which has to do with wealth creation. I want to begin to hear from the economists. How can government set up platforms to be able to, we talk about debentures, bonds, stocks, those type of programs. How can government set up the consortiums and securities so that we can be able to raise? Listen, I mean, as a country like Liberia, it breaks my heart, it saddens me that we should be sitting here today and be celebrating some $63 million coming from some people from Mauritius. That in itself is heartbreaking, Dennis. We need policies that are intended to benefit Liberians. I strongly believe when the government set itself up and create the necessary condition, when the government is transparent, when the government is credible, is honest, and the president is serious about fighting corruption and cutting wasteful spending, the Liberians abroad, we can raise the capital. Once we create the necessary condition, some of these people that are coming to our country and exploiting us should not be surviving in our country. But you see again, when we're desperate and we need anything, so sometimes, Dennis, they say when you are getting drowned, if someone show you the chicken fella, you hang on it, you think that
that's good. Let me go to thank you. Jackson. And Mr. Jackson, Mr. Man, please fix your camera. We want to see you. We are only seeing a piece of your head.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen. Dennis, go ahead. Dennis,
you can move it up a little bit more so you can respond to this news story.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Can you see me now?
No, come down a little bit, but we can definitely hear you well. We can hear you clearly.
I'm trying to. Is it better?
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's good. We just want you to know that takes away from some of your time.
Okay, no problem. Okay. Okay. I just want to basically, inform Mr. Alex Chuchu Jones that is grossly mistaken about the fact that LBDI doesn't have financial statement on his website. I'm right now sending you to Mr. Dennis Jar. I'm going to send you the 2018 financial statement of the LBDI. And let me just go read from it. Okay. The LBDI 2018 financial statement and independent auditors report for the year ended December 31st, 2018 was done by Baker Tilly, and it includes the everything includes. I'm gonna send it to you, Dennis. Includes the table of contents, corporate information, report of the directors, independent auditors report, statement of profit and loss, and statement of financial position, and the statement of cash flow, including statement of changes in equity. And they had notes in the annual financial statements. So look, Alex, I have a lot of respect for Alex, and I don't know how Alex did not catch that, but I think Alex should apologize to Liberian people for saying that my bank, the bank that I've been with for over 30 years, the LBDI, does not have financial statements. So I'm going to send that to Alex also. So Alex, I'm going to send you,
Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, what I said, send the link. Go on LBDI website and see.
I'm going to say, I was saying the 2018, and I was saying.
No. Okay, every company in the world, okay, every public company.
I was sending the link. I was sending you the link. I'm
yes,
gonna take it easy. I was sending you
put
the
a link out there so people can see it.
No, and if I know how to do it, I was gonna put the financial statement on there, but I don't.
No. What I'm trying to say, Mr. Jackson, I'm not disputing that it may not have it, but where is it?
And I will send the link also.
Yeah, okay. Send it so we can go through it.
Dennis, I'm sure you see it on the screen, right?
Yeah, but listen, it's not published on the website. Let you show where it is on the website.
It's right there. It's right there on the website. Publications and reports. But Mr. Jackson, keep going. You are going to say something. Let's not digress too much. Keep going. Keep going.
I can say, if Alex, a brilliant young man like that, can go on a website, you know, or go on a website to a bank website, and he tells me he doesn't have that he tells me that he doesn't have the financial report of LBDI, which I'm going to send to him now, so he can.
Can you get into this discussion? Time is fast.
The thing is,
you can do that later, please.
Okay, so but anyway, it said, okay, let me send a thing to y'all. Okay, hold on a second.
I will send it to Alex. Let's get into the other one. We got viewers on Facebook.
This is the political. Okay, all right. Tim asked a question, and I think I have a right to respond to what I said.
Let me finish that. You spoke for no, Alex, you spoke for 10 minutes, and I'm just basically saying they have a website. It's www.lbdr.net. That's the website. www. Okay, that's lbdr.net. Okay. So you can go there and you can.
Okay,
you can
but
go find a report.
So the question I have to ask you, Mr. Jackson.
But
okay.
No, you ask me a question later. Let me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
You had your opportunity. You did have your opportunity. Okay.
Oh yeah, I agree. Okay. Go ahead.
So, okay, I'm looking at executive reports, and the executive reports are very clear. 2016, 2017, and 2018. Okay.
Good.
Like you,
that's in time.
Okay, like you, I don't like the fact that Loita Investment, a Kenyan company, will come and be doing work that Liberians can do. I'm a firm believer in Liberian economic empowerment. I've done Liberian economic empowerment all my life. I have fought them in terms of the grant of mineral concessions. I fought them in terms of hydrocarbon and oil concessions. I fought them in terms of government procurement. Okay, but to say that John Davis is incompetent or inept, you know, I think you're wrong. John Davis works in a cesspool in Liberia, a very difficult circumstance. LBDR has been, in fact, LBDR is the oldest bank in Liberia. LBDR survived the wars. LBDR survived the coup. LBDR survived all of the challenges in our country. LBDR is experiencing significant challenges today because of the objective economic conditions in the country. LBDR, like all the banks in this country, made some mistakes as far as granting loans to a government that is irresponsible. And that government, through its central bank, issue out T-bills and T-bonds, and those T-bills and T-bonds have not been paid. The government of Liberia owes the commercial banks $66 million. That's what caused the liquidity problem. So Loita came in and acted as a broker by going to the African Export-Import Bank and to discount the government obligations to the commercial banks. That's how this $52 million came in to bring relief. The banks in Liberia, they require adequate capital. They don't have adequate capital. They need to be recapitalized. Likewise, the central bank, the government of Liberia owes the central bank of Liberia $498 million in legacy debts. So everything else that Alex always talks about, I'm in 100% agreement with him. But look, Alex, the first time I talked to him, when he wrote, I think wasn't it you and Ty Woman that wrote the article, Alex, at that time? Hello?
For long, I wrote it by myself.
Oh, okay, okay. But anyway, but no, okay, but I'm sorry. Okay, so he wrote an article that was uncomplimentary. Okay, so Mr. David asked me to find out who these guys were and see if we could have a discussion to provide understanding to them. And subsequently, said I met Alex. I found Alex to be a forthright young man.
What is uncomplimentary, Jackson? You said he found the article to be complimentary or uncomplimentary?
I said uncomplimentary to LBDI.
What does that mean?
It was not flattering.
It was not supportive of LBDI.
Okay, thank you.
It was not nice to LBDI. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So look, I'm a very good friend of LBDI. LBDI has. When I was working in Southern Africa, LBDI kept hundreds of thousands of dollars of me on my income. LBDI has given me loans, so I'm not an independent. I'm not independent. I'm very biased on this issue.
Okay. So Mr. Jackson, you found this partnership to be something good for the country?
Well, it's been good for me and my businesses because with LBDI, I have funded a lot of businesses in Liberia.
Point of correction. We're talking about the Loeta Group partnership. We're asking if
I told you,
okay.
I'm not freak up for foreigners coming in Liberia.
That's a political statement. Be direct, about partnership.
Okay. What I'm saying is, I would prefer for it to be a Liberian. I would prefer for it to be the Jackson Development Corporation or my company, Jabi Corporation, or my other companies that I'm associated with, like Devin Group. But unfortunately, we don't have the kind of muscle to go to the African Export-Import Bank and meet the chief executive officer and make a pitch to him to get $52 million. I don't have that capacity right now. And if I want to do it, I will have to do it through my associates that work with investment banks that I work with in Southern Africa. I know Loeta very well. In fact, I met the attorney when I was in Liberia the last time, and when they were talking to me, they were asking me for CV to see if I'd come and work with them. But I told them for myself, at my age, 67 years old, I was not going to go and work for, I was not going to take a job. First of all, my health would not permit me. At my age, I'd rather do my own thing. I'm not going to take a job to take instructions from anybody.
Thank you, Sam. Now, gentlemen, listen. I want to be very clear here. Let's be clear, because I don't want us to be speaking from one side of our mouth and then from the other side of our mouths. It's very important. The question is, we as Liberians, do we believe that the country is good to invest in? Whether we, yes or no. Because here's a foreign company that is coming in, and I said, despite everything that is going on, despite the quote unquote missing money, missing container money, despite the riots, the protests, and everything else, they have decided that they're going to come in and they're going to invest in Liberia. That's what they've done. That's the action right now, despite everything going on. So, George, please control that if you can.
All right. Yeah, here's what I would say to you.
And George, for the whole show, we have 15 minutes to go. So please, everybody, be brief so we can end this.
So, gentlemen, all right, Mr. Jackson
let me say this.
Okay. Again, like I said, when I think Mr. Jackson, Mr. Moore, and even Mr. Lobbo, I've had a lot of time. Okay. I think I have the right to respond to somebody who's telling me that I can't go on a website and find a financial statement. Okay. So I think I should be given that courtesy and to defend my position. Mr. Jackson read my entire paper. The paper said at the time, the paper was written in 2013. Okay. When I wrote the paper, there was something that looks like a financial statement, but it was not a complete financial statement. It's in the paper. The link to that financial statement does not exist. Okay, so the paper is published. You can go on my Facebook or go on Focus on Liberia, The paper is there. All of the assertion I was making about the bank, all the links are there. All the references are there. This was not an opinion paper, opinionated paper. This was an academic paper. So Mr. Jackson read that paper. So I wasn't saying that they've never had a financial statement. And in fact, let Mr. Jackson tell you he said that they made some bad decisions. Look, even in America, there are many banks here where president made bad decisions to fire them. Wachovia Bank, Lehman Brothers, been around for 200 years. The CEO made horrible decisions and the bank went bankrupt. So to say that because this man is your friend, all right, he took some bad loans. He lent money to the government on bonds for which he never recovered. He was the most underperformed banks among all the new banks that came in Liberia, including Echo Bank. All right, all these things are in the paper. But Mr. Jackson, because he said again, he gets loans from this man, all right, or this man is his friend, so he has to defend him. Then he also says, well, no, I'm speaking objectively as an economist. So which one is it?
I never
No,
said that.
Mr. Jackson, you portray yourself as an objective Liberian economist.
He's not.
In your paper, Mr. Jackson, let me finish.
I'm not an objective observer. I said that. I made that caveat.
What I'm trying to say is, if you look at the title of the show or all of your papers, it shows your experience as a Liberian, what you call economist. Yeah. So when you go and say that you're economist of a country, right, and you say that you can't report on the facts, the economic facts of the banking statement, simply because you're friends and you get money from this bank, that's conflict of interest. And you just said admitted a year. You don't disagree. Hold on, you don't disagree that the bank has been poorly managed. On the same time,
I never said no. I cannot agree with you on that.
So what the bank profit? Okay, give me the bank profit. You look at the financial statement. So hold on. So give me the bank profit for the last 5 years.
When I speak, you need clarification on what I'm saying. I've said to you, the bank have had some problems lately. But I said the bank is the oldest Liberian bank. Okay? Oldest Liberian bank alive. And the bank has weathered the storm through the war. And I said, I'm not a good person to give you an independent assessment of the bank.
Okay, so let some of us, Mr. Jackson, like I said, I'll let you finish. If you're biased, the point I'm trying to make, Mr. Jackson, if you have conflict of interest on a topic or on a company, then you're not allowed. You can't have your cake. You interrupting me. You can't have your cake and eat it. You can't say I have a conflict of interest in this matter, but then you want to come here and undermine the analysis that I did, where everything were in it, where I did analysis you agree with. You agree that the bank did.
I said nothing. I just basically said.
Okay, so then give me there's no comment. All right, Mr. Jackson.
Gentlemen, let's bring this home.
Mr. Jackson.
Okay. In terms of when you said they didn't have a financial statement, I thought you said
no, that's not what I said.
Okay, so you said in the past, maybe, but I'm just showing you that I went to
I wrote a paper. I wrote a whole. I want to say maybe it's the problem with Liberians. That's why I like to document facts. I wrote a paper, like I said, in 2013. That paper is at least 8-9 pages with references and links to all LBDR current things. Mr. Davis was the president at that time. Okay, so I'm sure you read the entire paper. I didn't say that they never have financial statement, but what I said was based on the financial statement that they did have. One, it was incomplete. Two, it was badly. The company showed losses all along. And if you read the financial statement, whichever one you want to pick, whatever year, go and compare that financial statement with Echo Bank that just went to Liberia and was just created. So when you
I thought you were speaking about now. So maybe
even now, let me address the point again. If I can't find the financial statement on the company website and I didn't see it, fine. I admit to that. Okay. And I'm not going to argue that point, but I know that there's a standard in industry, right? That where your financial statement should be. Okay, that you know, in company, if you go to Echo Bank, when you look under About Us, you will see the executive summary. You will see where it will say the financial report. So if it's on a website and some other obscure place, all right, as a financial expert, I'm not going to look in places everywhere to find what a financial statement is supposed to be in a particular spot as industry standard. Just like when you do an accounting report. When you do an accounting report, you don't look for the executive summary at the conclusion. So when I go to LBDI website and I see that when I look under the About Us and I look, there's no financial statement, what conclusion do you want me to reach?
Okay, Alex.
If they don't know where to put a financial statement so that investors, if they do not know where to put a financial statement so that investors can easily access it, then that's a problem.
Alex, we are here. Definitely, there's another discussion about where the report should be and so forth. But to come back to the hardcore point of what we are asking here and trying to understand is that, and I think if you want to address it, you would give it back to George so George can say something. The thing was this: we've been hearing that Liberia is not the place to invest. Don't put your money in. Here's a entity that is not Liberian, who, despite everything that is going on in Liberia, has figured out a way to strategically come in and want to do investment and do business in Liberia. So the question is, how is that possible, and what is going on here? And is this something that we should complain about, or should we just let the foreigners do what they do best? Now, in your article, Alex, that I read, you had some recommendations. I did see there were some recommendations there. And it appears that that's what the bank is doing. So maybe they're listening to your recommendation, they're doing it, but they're not including you. So before you answer that, Alex, let me hear what George Lobbo has to say. And then after that, Alex, you and then Mr. Morris will come to you. Go ahead, George.
First and foremost, I want to bring this home here real quick. It boils down to leadership. LBDI, being a Liberian-owned bank, the Liberian government, I think, owns about 40-something% stake in the bank, which makes them the largest owner in it. It all have to be based on what we want to do for them. This has to do with our overall both monetary and financial reform that is being instituted as a government. Your question was very clear. You said, it has been said that Liberia is not safe to do business. And you believe that such initiative, a Kenyan-owned company coming to Liberia, why? Let me say this very clear. Liberia was at war during Charles Taylor time, fighting 2 wars. There was OTC in Liberia. The fact that the country is risky does not mean that you can't go there. From a business perspective, we've been told that the higher the risk, the greater the return on your investment. So if you're willing to take the risk, your returns are higher. And so that's something people will see. When you have a government that is desperate, you have predators that come to exploit them. So some of the interest rate that will be given on some of those loans, as some of my first brother said. Now we have to sit back and begin to understand. If these guys will be financing most of the projects, they could be a good thing. But where if they come in and giving Liberian loan at 50% interest rate, 30% interest rate, then that investment is scary. And so the fact that they're there, you and I know, Williams, when we talk about the conducive environment in business, they said the government is responsible to create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. What is that enabling environment? We've seen a government where banks have been liquidated. We've seen a government where there's legalized corruption. We've seen a government where there's absolute no rule of law. We've seen total lawlessness. Those are not the conditions that businesses thrive in. But the few people that take the risk to come in, they will get paid. Because it is said, it is clear on the books, that the greater the risk, the higher the return on your investment. So seeing them don't mean that they can't come, they can come. So the notion that because they are there, it is to show that the government is doing well, we know the government is not doing well. When a government is yet to account for her own 25 million that was used in an infusion exercise for mop up It cannot be accounted for. That means anybody should be smart enough to know. I mean, when you trust them, you're taking a risk because you know what you will get at the end of the day. We've seen businesses leaving, so should we say that? We've seen Firestone lay up employees. So we know these things have happened. But overall, Williams, yes, I want to put this together. It speaks to the leadership in the country. We have to know what are some of the economic reform this government is intending to implement. Because if we can reform our financial sector, if we can make sure that the central bank, which is in charge of government monetary policy, is instituting and implementing comprehensive monetary reform policies that is strengthening the banking sector capacity. But if the bankers' bank is broke, the central bank, which happens to be the bankers' bank, if they themselves broke, then it makes it difficult for us to have all these arguments. And let me say one thing here today. You see, when we listen to economists, for those of us with the policy background, I'm a business major with interest in public service and public policy. Let me state that for the records today. So when you hear me talking policy, that's where it comes from. All right. Now, here's what happened. You see, it is a good thing when the economists sit down and they bring these proposals to policymakers. They tell you we are technocrats. What the economists don't tell you is that they do not attach the other factors that must work to make their proposal successful. For example, when you listen to Samuel Jackson outline the structural reform that needs to be done, it is good. But what Mr. Jackson do not tell us is that if government do not allocate more resources to educating the technocrat who will come to the bank to manage the monetary policy, it will not work. He will not work. They will not. The economists will not tell you that if the government do not make sure that there's police, that we pay our police on time, there is security so that banks cannot be unrobbed. The economists will not tell you that. They will make these proposals to you. This is why the problem is bigger than we think. Policy makers in Liberia, the Liberian people now in this 21st century need to understand that the people they elect to go to represent them in Congress, because those are the guys who people like Samuel Jackson will make recommendations to as the technocrat. Those are the guys who will debate whether the policies will benefit the country. When we talk about government spending from a fiscal policy perspective, because fiscal policy is government spending and taxation that influence the economy. You see, the government spend in two ways. The government spend for the sake of spending when government pay civil servant salaries here and there. The government can also spend to expand the economy and build the private sector. But when we have policy makers who do not care about these things, it is difficult, folks. Okay. So at the end of the day, I just want to say this. I hope that when these type of investments, that our government will begin to make sure that there are policies put in place to make sure that Liberians are not exploited in this process. That is my only hope at this point in time. And that shows, that begins with good leadership, good governance, and that starts from our national government. That is how I would say on this.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Morris, Mr. Morris, we're going to come to you. But before we come to you, I just want to say, George, we got to continue on this loiter group thing next week because there's so much more to it. You've touched on the surface. We're going to be coming back to this thing next week, okay? Let's go ahead, Morris.
Okay, King. And I read about loiter group partnership. And from my own reading, they have a successful track record in terms of venture capital management. And the decision for them to come in Liberia at the crucial time, and for me, it's a value added to our government. It's a plus for the government, and it will help to enhance government capacity, increase cash flow within the economy because we've been yearning for investment, and now we have people that decided to come to infuse money into our economy. It's a good thing for me. It is a good thing that we all should celebrate. I'm not interested in the politics of the issues because people from the other side will see it as, oh, it will give the government some clause and will add some political leverage to the existing ones they already have. But I look at it from the background of a financial person. My own concern is the control around it, and all I want to agree with Lobbo is how government is negotiating with these people to provide favorable interest rates for our people, because the people coming in to invest in a highly risky environment, it comes with huge benefit. So the higher the risks, the higher the return on the investment. These guys are taking risk, and the return they expect is high. So for me, it is good. I read about them. There's no record I see that they have been involved in some financial scandal. But we just need the best deal for Liberia to able to participate in this process. And there should be an open window where Liberians can buy share or bond from Loyalite, because Loyalite will be making a lot of money. And if Liberians that want to raise capital is given an opportunity to invest in Loyalite, that's a good thing, because the profit that Loyalite will be making from the return from investment won't just go to them because they're from other country and they'll be taking the money back to that country. But if they open window for Liberians to buy share and own share in Loyalite, it means that the high interest rate, the high return will be getting on the investment, some portion of it will leave in Liberia and will also help to stimulate economic growth and expand our capital development.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson.
Well, first of all,
I think you guys are skipping me because, right? Can I come in, please?
Yes. Sorry, we go in a certain order. Excuse me, Mr. Dennis. I apologize. Alex, it will be you, Mr. Jackson. Then after you, Ms. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think everybody should have the same length of time as guests. I don't think one person should have 10 minutes and the other person have 2 minutes. That's what's been going on. All right. Let me just say this. My goal is not to denigrate Liberian institutions. It's in fact to promote it and to enhance it. Okay? When I find discrepancy, or when I find some of the reasons why when I find some of the reasons why today we're suffering, it aches me. Okay? Mr. Moore, you're a financial person. You're a graduate level financial person. There's no way you can tell me that you never learned about investment banking in your education, that you're not competent to run third world country, right? Investment bank. Mr. Jackson, then the problem with Mr. Jackson, people, they're politicians. And so long they're benefiting from the system, all right? And so long they know the players who they can get benefits from, they will defend those people. That has always happened in Liberia. When you know the bank president, because the bank president can give you loan, they see LBDI. Just when Front Page Africa came up and said that Nathaniel McGill got a $200,000 loan for LBDI, right? When they were pressed, when the investigative report, the same guy came out and he said, yes, that was true. Okay? Now, LBDI is an investment development bank. Why are they lending money to Nathaniel McGill, who is a minister? Is Nathaniel McGill opening a factory in Liberia? Is Nathaniel McGill opening, an industrial manufacturing? That was not the bank. That's not what the bank's objectives are, to give personal loan to individuals of high income, of government connection, so that they can build a $200,000 house. And people like Mr. Jackson, I hate to say it, because they are the problem. They will see these kind of things and they will support it. He just said, I know the president and I can get loans for that. But was that what LBDI was set up for, to get Sam Jackson loans or Nathaniel McGill, when we don't even have a good plastic company? We can't even make razor blade in Liberia. They're corrupt. I challenge any one of you. Don't don't take no link from what Sam Jackson sent you, because what I'm saying is these guys, they're so good at the art of politics. You yourself go on LBDR website and you show me where the financial statement is. They know the same thing when we're on one debate. Sam Jackson said he has a report from the central bank, but the report is only for insiders. Remember that? Sam Jackson said, I read on the show here that the government did an analysis at the central bank, but it gave him copy of it and he can email copies of it to me. I don't want copies that Sam Jackson sent me. That's a public information. If our any financial person to be able to go to LBDR website. So if I can't go on the financial, if I can't go there, Sam Jackson has to send me a link to find out where it is, then it's corrupt. I can go on Echo Bank statement, a website. I can pull up the financial statement. All right. I can go on any company in the world, any reputable company. I don't need Sam Jackson to send me the link. When I go to LBDR website, on the way it says financial statement, I do not see financial statement there. But somehow, Sam Jackson has a link. Then he wants to come here and tell me and tell people that Alex Jones don't know how to find financial statement. Look, I can probably teach your John Davis banking and finance, okay? I can educate him on it. So never make that kind of statement. Every financial statement should be in a particular place on a financial website, because there should be a standard. And your central bank should monitor that financial statement. You should make sure that all these companies have their financial statement in a standardized place and that it's published every 3 months or 1 year. It shouldn't be sent to certain people. And that's what I'm saying. And money should not be given from Liberia for LBDR to Nathaniel McGill or to Sam Jackson or to Alex Jones. It should be used, if there's a loan, it should be used for building the Liberian people's schools, the infrastructure, the water, and things like that. And that's the fraud that I'm talking about, where he and his John Davis and his friends. Thank you very much.
Alex.
Okay, Dennis.
Go
ahead, Dennis.
On this report on LBDR website, there is something called, they say, publications and report.
Exactly.
Is that what you're referring to, or something? Something.
Yes.
And they have 20.
No. Okay, well, so open it up. So open now.
Okay. Well, listen to me.
No, so we have
that?
2018 financial audited financial statement.
Yes. Okay.
Hold on. Let me find, because like I said, when I looked at it, when I did the report, it was in 2015.
No, I'm talking now.
I checked that before the show, but what I'm saying is, where it says about us, okay, that's where the financial statement should be.
Okay, no, what I mean is, these statements that say publication report, are those statements that are supposed to be on about us? Are those the statements that could be?
Yes, it's supposed to say financial statement.
Okay.
It's supposed to say.
Dennis, real quick.
I'm not just seeing the fact.
I'm trying to run out of here, Dennis. I don't want to run and leave the show. Let Mr. Jackson.
I'm not just disputing the fact that it may not or may be there. Okay, what I'm saying.
I'm clear now. I'm clear.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay, Alex.
Mr. Jackson, why are you doing the doctors, man? You're not in Liberia, for God's sake.
Let me put my light on. I'm sorry.
He's using the proper light after the economic dialogue.
Gentlemen, I'm telling everybody here, next week we got to come back to this Florida group, because the answer are surface. We want to get deeper. But let Sam Jackson wrap up, and then we're going to go for next week.
First of all, look, I'm not going to defend myself about, make any, express any regrets from getting a loan from LBDI. LBDI only grants loans to people who have properties that they're supposed to. And my house on the old road, where they've always used as collateral, is worth $250,000. The most amount of money I've taken for LBDI is $25,000. That's it. Let me finish, please.
No, what I want to do is, you said because of your relationship, you want to recuse yourself from the LBI.
Yeah. Listen to me. I said I am not. I'm biased in favor of LBDI.
Right.
caveat.
Right. So don't talk LBDI because you'll be biased.
No, I have to because LBDI, no, because he made some statements against me that because they gave me loan.
Okay.
First of all, I'm not a public official.
Okay.
I was a businessman. I had a Total gas station that I was a franchise owner. I had a ice factory. I had a bakery. I had a restaurant, and I had a dollar store in Liberia. And I have 4 houses in Liberia, plus 3 houses in America. So I'm not just anybody from the streets, okay? And until I got sick, my FICO score was hitting almost 800.
Yeah, but Mr. Jackson, we've seen that LPD should not be giving personal loans.
Let me speak. You spoke.
But you go on
Let the
forever.
man speak, Alex. Dennis, please mute Alex. Let the man speak. Let Sam Jackson speak.
Your guy got to do your job because the man's going on something that's not relevant.
No, but you attacked me. You said LBDI gave me loan. They're not supposed to give me, and
and I want to restate the point I'm attacking you on. What I'm saying is that LBDI was not designed to give you loans. It wasn't designed to give you loans. It was designed to build Liberia.
Let him finish.
If I'm a Liberian.
No, it was designed to invest in infrastructure and development for all Liberians.
Well, how do you know? Well, let me tell you. So you mean, but you should ask me.
Your bank does not give individual loans. Your bank does not give individual loans.
Let me finish, man. LBDI gave me the money as working capital when I have a gas station. And I had a gas station that employed 40 Liberians. 40 Liberians. That's how many my gas station employed. And my ice factory employed 15 people. And my bakery.
Okay, what about Nathaniel McGill? What about Nathaniel McGill?
I'm not defend Nathaniel McGill. I don't know his circumstances. I'm speaking on my behalf. But it's
not for personal. This is for policy. It's for national policy. It's not about saying Jackson.
You call me in the same category. If you want to talk about public official getting a loan, I can accept that. But a private citizen, Samuel Polypheus Jackson, to get a loan from LBDI, then I have to defend myself because I'm not a public official. I'm a private official.
Well, you are a public official, and you're friends with the banker, and that's unfair because you have a personal relationship with the president of the bank. So therefore, your loan is questionable.
So we can end the show.
Let me tell you something. When I got those loans, John Davis was in school in North Carolina. I got my loans under Francis A. Dennis. So you see. When you keep making
what's the relationship with Francis A. Dennis? And you were also a consultant at the time for the Liberian government.
When was that? When was I consulting the Liberian government? What year?
You were a consultant according to your own statement.
What year was that? Alex, what year was that? What year?
Dennis, can you take charge of this?
Don't speak on things you don't know.
But you said it yourself. You're a consultant.
Dennis, can you please mute
you have a personal relationship. You said it yourself.
I was a consultant.
Just finished. We got to end the show. We are way over time.
Consultant for only a period of 6 months from January of 2014 to June of 2014. End of conversation. That's the only time I was consulting for the government of Liberia, Ministry of Finance. I stayed in Liberia, okay, from 2002 until 2015 when I got sick. I worked for a management consulting firm called Devon Corporation, www.devoncorp.net.
I know Devon, it's a oil company. I'm aware of Devon Corporation.
Go to the website and go see to the personnel.
And the Devon Corporation you're talking about, they were fined for improprieties in the Congo for corruption. Devon Corporation. The Devon Corporation you're talking about, they were fined for improprieties in the Republic of Congo.
Oh yeah.
Okay, but let me ask you a question.
Okay, that is what you're working for.
Does it say Sam Jackson?
You want me to say the report?
Jackson, or does it say Devon Corporation that is on?
Alex, can you give some for next week, please? Let's
Thank you,
see.
man.
Somebody.
Man. But please send me the link. Please send me the link, okay?
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
The U.S. Department of Foreign Corruption, they find Devin Corporation in the Republic of Congo for corruption and for purchase of shares that had to do with the government. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Please keep it for next week, Ellis. We got to go and break you.
Thank you.
Swing. Just let Ellis go on the beach. Ellis go swim.
I'm a consultant to Devin, okay? I'm not an equity participant, neither am I a corporate officer, right? So because you see, the thing is, you can't tie somebody to a crime because of a social.
I don't think that's what he's doing.
So that's not what he's doing.
Everybody, let me wrap up. Dennis, everybody, let me wrap up.
Please, gentlemen.
We all are be
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much. This is just the beginning. And we want to thank our viewers who have tuned into the Business and Economic Forum. Sometimes you find it, we'll mix it up. That's why we started with Rumble in the Jungle. So it gets tense here sometimes because we are all passionate about Liberia. This is the only country we have, and we have to do our best.
Next week, I want to come to Samuel Jackson on the economic dialogue. I believe it was a waste of public resources again. So I'm not finished with Semi yet. I'm coming for the economic dialogue. Give us this day our daily bread.
Thank you so much. I want to say thanks to Mr. Alice. No, he said we should say Chuchu Alice Jones. Mr.
Thank you.
George Lobbo. I'm not using Preston. And
oh yeah.
Sam P. Jackson. Your P. I don't know what buzzer name is. How you say it? But I want to thank you guys so much. It's been an exciting forum, and we appreciate. There was no caller. There are so many comments on Facebook. We couldn't read any one of them. But you guys, please go on Facebook and respond to our people here. We love them so much. We appreciate them, and we value their time. 7 o'clock. Come back. It's going to get politically nasty.
I said?
What is it, Sam? Thank you for coming. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and tune in again at 7 o'clock. Focus on Liberia.
That corporation did not do anything in Congo, and that is a black lie.